Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're journeying into the heart of a nation's identity,
We really are.
exploring a day that doesn't just, remember history, but actively shapes it. We're talking about Eritrea's Martyrs' Day.
A really profound observance.
Yeah, it's held every year, June 20th, and it's incredibly solemn,
Mm.
deeply personal.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just about marking a date on the calendar, right? It's about trying to grasp how an entire society honors, immense sacrifice.
And how they weave it into the fabric of their collective memory, their future, too.
Exactly.
And that's what makes this particular deep dive so compelling, I think. We're not just looking at, like, a static commemoration.
Right.
It's more of a dynamic process. You see a nation integrating its struggles, its losses, its hard-won independence into its character today, its guiding principles.
And the material we've been digging into, especially drawing from Simon Wildemichael's work on Shabbat, it really paints a rich picture, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A rich tapestry. You get the cultural rituals, the historical context, and these incredibly personal stories. It shows just how deep this day runs in Eritrean society.
It gives you real insight into collective memory, nation building even.
For sure.
So our mission today, let's be clear, we want to understand, really get into the details of who is honored on Martyrs' Day, how they're remembered the different ways, some quite poignant, and crucially, the lasting impact, the legacy of their sacrifices on Eritrean society today.
Let's do it. Let's unpack this.
Okay, so at its core, what is Martyrs' Day in Eritrea? We know the basics, right? Solemn national day, June 20th.
Right.
Primary purpose.
Yeah.
Honor those who sacrifice their lives for the country. Simple enough on the surface.
Yeah, but as you said, the sources we've looked at show it's way more nuanced than just that general idea.
How so?
Well, this is where you start to see this continuous thread of sacrifice running through Eritrea's history.
Yeah.
It's not just one group. The day specifically honors two distinct groups, but they're deeply connected. First, you've got those who fell during the long, hard-armed struggle for independence.
That's the 30-year war, right? 1961 to 91.
Exactly. Grueling 30 years. But then, and this is really critical, a key differentiator. It also honors those who lost their lives defending the nation's sovereignty after independence.
Ah, okay. So not just the liberation struggle, but also protecting the nation afterward.
Precisely. And that dual focus, it isn't arbitrary. It builds this powerful story, this narrative of continuous commitment. Like the struggle didn't just end with independence.
It's an ongoing vigilance. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That distinction feels incredibly important. It shows that martyrdom, the concept, isn't sort of locked into one historical moment.
It's a lineage, a continuous dedication.
Right. And the timing, when it was made official, that says a lot, too. The material highlights it was designated Martyrs' Day in 1991.
Immediately after independence.
Yeah. Independence was May 24th, 1991. So just weeks later. That speed, it suggests it was like foundational right from the start.
Absolutely. That rapid establishment, practically simultaneous with the nation's birth, it's a huge statement. It's saying these sacrifices weren't just, historical footnotes.
They were the cornerstone.
Exactly. The very foundation the new nation was built on. An immediate, profound recognition that the country exists because of these sacrifices, not something they got around to acknowledging later.
It was part of defining what independent Eritrea was.
Right. And the sources also give us a first glimpse of how they're honored. It's not just top-down, it seems deeply integrated into the community.
Like what?
Well, we read about community-driven memorial services, which points to real grassroots involvement.
Okay.
And also additional financial support for the families of martyrs. That's a tangible thing, a commitment to their well-being.
Practical support.
Yeah, and woven through it all, you have these beautiful, often really moving expressions, music and poetry recitation, ways to keep the stories alive, ensure the legacy carries on.
So if it covers both pre- and post-independence sacrifices, how does that big, comprehensive approach shape the collective memory and, Eritrean national identity?
Well, it fundamentally shapes it by creating that continuous narrative we talked about, struggle and vigilance. By honoring both periods, the nation reinforces this collective memory that basically says, look, this freedom wasn't just handed to us.
It was earned, hard-earned.
Immensely hard-earned through a sustained struggle. And, crucially, we have to stay ready to defend it. Always.
That was deep in the sense of gratitude for independence itself.
Massively. It's not just a historical date. It's this profound appreciation for lives given, and it cultivates this pervasive sense of collective responsibility, a shared duty.
A duty to uphold the values that
Yeah.
came out of that struggle.
Exactly. Think about the psychological impact. Knowing the fight for survival is woven into like every generation's experience. It builds this incredibly strong patriotism.
Not based on abstract ideas, but on real loss and collective triumph.
Tangible loss, yeah.
Yeah.
And it ensures those values forged in conflict, resilience, unity, perseverance. They aren't just ideals. They become part of what it means to be Eritrean.
So it fights against complacency.
Definitely. A constant reminder. Freedom is precious, hard-won, needs ongoing dedication. It binds generations together.
That really sounds like a core narrative, defining a people beyond just dates. Now, talking about those sacrifices, there's a really heartbreaking aspect our sources emphasize. Martyrs' Day isn't only for the fighters. It's also a tribute to countless civilians.
Babies.
Women, the elderly.
Yes.
Who were, the sources say, deliberately targeted and killed by the occupation regimes. These weren't like accidental casualties.
No, absolutely not. And this is such a critical, harrowing point that the material, especially, what Michael describes, emphasizes very clearly. Yeah. These innocent people, the sources state, suffered atrocities, massacres, and brutal executions. And importantly, in flagrant breach of all humanitarian laws of war.
Yeah, wording is strong. Flagrant breach.
Incredibly strong. It points to a deliberate violation of, the rules of conflict. And what's chilling, what gives real insight into that conflict's nature, is the policy behind it.
The strategy.
Yes. Our sources explicitly mention the Ethiopian regime's pursued a policy described with this just chilling phrase, drain the sea to finish off the fish.
Wow. Drain the sea to finish off the fish.
Yeah, it wasn't random violence, it was calculated. Strategic terror, explicitly designed to exterminate Eritrean resistance by targeting not just freedom fighters, but civilians.
Targeting the population that supported the resistance.
Exactly. Trying to eliminate the sea the fish swam in. It paints this picture of a methodical terror campaign.
That phrase alone.
Oh.
It evokes such utter ruthlessness. A calculated effort to dehumanize, eliminate. And the sources give specific, horrifying examples.
They do. Entire villages were burned. Innocent people were executed, and terror was used as a weapon. It's brutal.
All with the clear intention, it says, to crush the morale and fighting spirit of the people. Just devastating. Extreme, targeted violence against ordinary people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is where we hit this this profound paradox that the sources describe.
About paradox.
Yeah. This policy, designed specifically to crush morale, break the people's will, it seems it actually did the opposite.
It backfired.
That's what the material indicates. It says successive Ethiopian governments might have hoped that massacring civilians, destroying villages, and inflicting terror would end the resistance. But in reality, it only strengthened Eritreans' determination, making them fight more fiercely.
Wow. So the extreme suppression actually strengthened resolve.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Which raises this incredibly important question, doesn't it? About the human spirit. How can that level of brutality inadvertently forge more unity, more determination, instead of breaking it?
It's a testament to defiance, I guess.
It really is.
So let's dig into that. What is the psychological impact of policies like that?
Yeah.
Especially targeting the most vulnerable. Why do they sometimes backfire so spectacularly?
Well, the impact is transformative. The immediate goal, obviously, is terror, paralyzing fear, obedience.
Right.
But when it's prolonged, systematic terror, especially against non-combatants, kids, women, old people, it can trigger this incredibly powerful, defiant reaction.
Oh.
Because the fight stops being just about, say, political control. It becomes about survival, about the dignity of your family, your community. It removes any middle ground, any neutrality.
It becomes existential.
Exactly. And that shared experience of injustice, of immense suffering, it can paradoxically weld a population together. It creates this deep well of shared grievance, this absolute demand for justice.
So the source saying it strengthened Eritreans' determination. That reflects this unification.
It suggests exactly that these atrocities solidified a collective identity rooted in fierce resistance against, overwhelming oppression. It creates a stark us versus them.
Where us is everyone, not just the fighters.
Right. And targeting the most vulnerable, deliberately breaking humanitarian law that's particularly potent. It galvanizes resolve in a way maybe even military action alone couldn't.
So it becomes a fight for basic human dignity, for existence itself.
Precisely. A fight for humanity. The stakes become ultimate. And that shift is embedded in how Martyrs' Day is observed.
How does remembering the civilian victims change the day's meaning, beyond military heroism?
Oh, it deepens it immeasurably. It makes the day not just about military valor, but this holistic tribute to national resilience. Total resilience.
It acknowledges the cost wasn't just borne by soldiers.
Exactly. It was borne by entire families, whole communities, every part of society. It puts the suffering of the innocent right at the center, makes it sacred in the national story, ensures those unjust sacrifices are never, ever forgotten.
Adds this profound layer of tragedy, moral weight.
It does. It makes the gratitude for independence even sharper, the commitment to those national values even more resolute. Every single lost life, youngest to oldest, is tied to the nation's freedom. It gives the day this universal significance.
That really does add layers of emotional historical depth. Moving on then. It's so clear from the material that Martyrs' Day is, quote, very significant to Eritreans. A moment for deep reflection on the struggles. And the sources underscore something incredibly powerful. It's deeply personal, with the statistic that almost every Eritrean family having lost loved ones in the struggle.
Yeah, that statistic just stops you, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes it more than just a national holiday. It sounds like a shared family experience across the entire country.
It speaks volumes, the pervasive personal impact on every single household. It's a testament to that immense collective sacrifice.
Yeah.
And what we see here, what the sources really illuminate, is this fascinating blend.
Blend of what?
Of official state recognition on one hand and these deeply intimate grassroots traditions on the other.
So there's the big national observance.
Right, officially held at Asmar's Patriot Cemetery, a central point of national memory. But the real heart of the day seems to lie in the personal and community rituals.
Because the impact was so personal.
Exactly. That dual nature reflects it perfectly. Imagine the weight. Almost every family has a direct personal loss. So a national day gets experienced through countless individual acts of remembering. That creates a powerful resonance.
So on that family level, what does it actually look like? How do people engage, intimately?
The sources give us some vivid details. At home, you have private gatherings, families lighting candles, creating this quiet, reflective space.
Simple but powerful.
Very. And many make solemn visits to veteran cemeteries or memorials, physical places holding those memories. That's the intimate household level. Quiet, reflective, passed down within the family, often through stories.
And then there's the community aspect.
Yeah. Beyond the home, there's this robust, widespread community participation. It really brings people together. Communities organize and join in candlelight vigils, often the night before, June 19th.
What happens at these vigils?
Well, artists sing songs, recite poems, and tell stories to pay tribute to martyrs. It's this profound shared cultural expression. A collective process of memory-making, storytelling keeps the legacy alive and vibrant.
And the purpose of all these acts, private or public?
It's consistently stated, ensure that the legacy of the martyrs remains alive. It's not just about recalling the past, but actively keeping its meaning potent for the future.
That's a beautiful image. Private grief and public commemoration intertwined.
Yeah.
So how do all these different acts, the national ceremonies, the family moments, the community vigils, how do they all contribute to a single national sense of memory, of identity?
It's like they build this incredibly multifaceted, deeply resonant national memory together.
Also,
The official ceremonies, they provide the big, unifying national framework. The state's recognition, the valorization, they create that central focus, like the Patriots Cemetery, symbolizing collective honor.
but it's the personal stuff that gives it depth.
Exactly. It's the personal and community rituals. The candles in homes, the quiet cemetery visits, the vibrant vigils, that's what imbues the day with such profound emotional depth. Makes history feel tangible, immediate.
It's lived history, not just read about.
Right. This grassroots engagement ensures the memory isn't some abstract idea. It's lived, felt, passed intimately from elder to child. This combination fosters that holistic sense of memory. It acknowledges the struggle was both a grand national effort and intensely personal for every single family.
It's like personal stories are threads in this larger national tapestry.
Perfectly put. And this dynamic ensures the price of freedom isn't just a historical footnote. It's a living reality that informs and motivates today.
And the sources mention the ongoing commitment to preserve the values of resilience, unity, and patriotism.
Yes, and that becomes an active daily thing, not just a once-a-year thought. It strengthens national identity by grounding it in shared sacrifice, shared values. Makes those values feel earned, not just aspirational.
Builds collective purpose.
Exactly. The past doesn't just inform the present, it actively guides the future. Ensuring the martyr's legacy truly stays alive in the people's actions and spirit, a continuous cycle.
That's a powerful way for a nation to build character, maintain its core. Now, the sources say independence is often spoken of as a gift of the martyrs, but it also stresses their legacy extends far beyond liberation. What does that mean practically? Beyond just achieving freedom.
This is where you see how those foundational struggles become the bedrock for core societal values. It's not just history, it's a living guide for national character, like we said.
So the sources detail this.
Yeah, they explain how these immense sacrifices have reinforced the seeds of national identity. And they name specific values: history, resilience, perseverance, commitment, and truth.
And these aren't just historical concepts.
No, the key phrase is they continue to shape Eritrean society. That signals a dynamic, living legacy, not static. The martyrs didn't just win a war. Their sacrifices forged this lasting national ethos that you see in daily life.
So it's about translating that history, those values, into how society functions today, guiding behavior.
Precisely. The material highlights how Eritreans continue to carry these values forward. Through what? Through acts of service, suggesting a culture of contribution, through dedication to the nation, implying loyalty, active participation, and through unity among communities, emphasizing cohesion across different groups.
So remembrance becomes active civic engagement.
That's it exactly. It transforms from looking back at loss to actively building on what was gained, on the principles established, making sure the martyr's spirit lives on, not just in memory, but in daily life, collective efforts, future goals.
That's really compelling. The past directly informing present actions, future plans. So how does Martyrs' Day itself serve as an occasion for the renewal of these ideals?
It functions almost like a national compass, constantly recalibrating.
A compass, I like that.
Yeah, Martyrs' Day isn't static. It's an active annual recommitment. By revisiting that narrative, the sacrifice, the values that emerged, like resilience against huge odds, perseverance, commitment, truth, Eritreans, are powerfully reminded of the principles that got them through unimaginable hardship.
It reinforces why those values matter now.
Exactly. It underlines that these aren't historical relics. They're essential for tackling today's challenges, for building the future together. It's like a national moment of reflection. How well are we living up to these ideals?
So it keeps the nation aligned with its founding principles.
Right. It's this dynamic cycle: remember, reflect, renew. And that consistently shapes and reinforces that unique Eritrean national character.
You can almost feel the atmosphere described, solemnity mixed with inspiration. And speaking of atmosphere, the sources use this striking image. On Martyrs' Day, or during Martyrs' Week, Eritrea becomes a nation of light.
Powerful visual.
With this widespread candlelight vigil the night before, June 19th, this isn't just a small thing, is it?
Not at all. It's described as completely pervasive. A collective national experience covering the whole country. The vigil, the sources say, envelops villages, streets, homes, and veteran cemeteries. And participation is from every Eritrean, young and old. Imagine that. The entire nation lit by countless small flames, each one representing a life, a memory, a sacrifice.
Incredibly moving. A picture of collective experience.
And a testament to how memory is passed down through generations, through these deeply embedded symbolic acts. The atmosphere must be just palpable reverence, quiet determination.
Truly unifying.
Yeah.
And what about the children? How are they involved in this? Are they just watching?
Oh, no, they're very active participants. And their engagement, according to the sources, is really remarkable, quite imaginative.
Like how?
Well, you have students chant songs of resilience, often wearing clothes emblazoned with slogans honoring the martyrs, so that's a strong auditory and visual element. But then it gets really creative, really hands-on. Children, with their boundless creativity, construct symbols of martyrdom using whatever materials they can find.
Like what?
Including turning the very ground into a canvas where they draw Eritrea's map.
Wow, drawing maps in the dirt as symbols.
Yeah, It shows they're not passive observers. They're actively shaping, interpreting, perpetuating the memory in their own unique ways. It's tactile, engaged history-making, fosters a deep personal connection from a really young age.
That's incredibly imaginative. It ensures the legacy isn't abstract for them. Now, there's also this specific document mentioned, the testimony of heroism. Sounds like more than just a certificate.
Oh, much more. The sources say it bears the martyr's name, their photograph, and crucially, the date and location of their sacrifice.
It's very specific.
Very. It's called a badge of honor. And that's vital because it individualizes what could otherwise feel like a huge, faceless collective loss. It's a way to remember every martyr as an individual, each with a personal story, a face, and a legacy.
So it counters the anonymity of large numbers.
Exactly. It reflects this deep government commitment, the sources suggest, to preserving each memory with dignity, ensuring the human lives aren't overshadowed. Each testimony becomes this tangible link to a specific person, their sacrifice, anchors the national memory in individual humanity.
And these testimonies are central to the rituals.
Absolutely central. The material describes how they're often surrounded by candlelight and placed on tables. They become sacred symbols during vigils, family gatherings.
And the emotions around them.
Profound. The sources note tears spill, not in agony, but as a profound expression of gratitude. That's a key distinction.
Gratitude, not agony.
Right, and it leads to this powerful shift. In these moments, Eritreans do not mourn their martyrs, they celebrate their legacy.
That's huge, transforming grief into gratitude inspiration.
It really is. It speaks volumes about how the society processes loss. And it raises that broader question, how societies use symbols, rituals, not just to cope with trauma, but to actively reinforce identity, foster a forward look. The testimony is so potent because it individualizes the sacrifice, makes it personal, while linking everyone to the bigger national story.
That shift from mourning to celebration, turning pain into purpose.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And it's not just visual symbols, right? Oral traditions play a big role, too.
Yes, absolutely vital for passing things down. The sources describe children sit near the candlelit certificates, listening intently to the elders recounting tales of bravery.
Like a living history lesson.
Exactly. With every word, the values of the martyrs are passed down, woven into the very fabric of Eritrean identity. Ensures the stories, the values aren't just read about. They're heard, felt, internalized, become part of your personal history.
And there are other physical symbols, too.
Yeah. Beyond the certificates and stories, these symbols of martyrdom crafted from stone, sand, and other materials are put on display. In homes, streets, schools, constant, tangible reminders in everyday life.
And finally, the martyrs' cemeteries themselves, the actual resting places. What role do they play?
They're crucial. The sources say they're found all over Eritrea, not just burial sites, but profound sacred resting places.
More than just cemeteries.
Much more. They function as symbols of honor, history, and national memory. People make these solemn visits, these pilgrimages almost. They light candles, lay flowers, and pay their respects. It reinforces their deep connection to those who gave everything.
So they're not grim places.
No, they seem to be presented as vibrant touchstones of identity and sacrifice, where the living connect directly with the legacy, and the fact they're everywhere underscores how widespread the sacrifice and its remembrance truly is.
So bringing it all together, all these rituals, visual, personal, collective, how do they ensure the fallen are never forgotten and shape that unique Eritrean identity? It sounds all-encompassing.
They really form the architecture of national memory. By engaging all the senses sight with the candles and symbols, sound with songs and stories, touch with visiting cemeteries, handling testimonies, it creates this deeply immersive, unforgettable experience.
Multi-sensory memory.
Right, and the intergenerational part, especially kids actively creating, listening, that ensures the memory isn't just passed down, but internalized, reinterpreted, renewed by each generation.
And then the testimonies keep it personal.
They give that individual face, that personal story to the collective sacrifice. Makes it relatable, moving, while connecting it to the bigger national narrative. This blend individual stories within a shared national framework solidifies the idea that the nation exists because of these unique people and their sacrifices.
And the symbols in cemeteries make it constant.
Exactly. Woven into the daily landscape, not just one day a year. All this combines to ensure the fallen are never forgotten. Not just names, but living principles contributing to that unique Eritrean identity, forged in sacrifice, rooted in resilience. It's living history, constantly reenacted, deeply felt, perpetually reinforced.
It's clear this is far from passive. The sources say Eritreans see Martyrs' Day as a call to action, reminding them to stand in solidarity with the families of the fallen. That implies a very active, forward-looking commitment, not just quiet reflection.
That's a crucial takeaway. What the analysis reveals is this powerful idea. Remembrance isn't passive, it's active, dynamic. It continually remotivates people towards Shared civic duty, national unity.
So observing the day strengthens collective memory.
Yes, proactively, ensuring that the sacrifices of the past are never forgotten. It's not just looking back, it's drawing strength, inspiration, purpose for now and the future.
And the call to action becomes real.
It translates into tangible things, ongoing support, engagement, like the financial aid for families we mentioned, or the broader dedication to upholding national values daily. It really highlights the living, evolving nature of their history.
So Martyrs' Day isn't just preserving the past, it's actively shaping the future. How does that work? How does historical remembrance become this living imperative, fostering ongoing duty and community?
It becomes a living imperative when it directly informs today's responsibilities and tomorrow's goals. For Eritrea, Martyrs' Day isn't just about mourning laws for its own sake. It's a dynamic reaffirmation of the principles born from that sacrifice.
Linking the price of freedom to current identity.
Exactly. It constantly reminds people of the profound responsibility they carry. Fosters this continuous sense of duty to uphold those hard-won values, resilience, unity, patriotism, and a duty to actively contribute to the nation's well-being, its security.
And the solidarity with families makes it concrete.
Yes, it transforms abstract sacrifice into this real human connection, actively reinforcing community bonds, mutual support. It ensures the lessons of the past aren't just learned, they're applied. History becomes a guide, not just a story.
So collective memory fuels collective action.
An enduring national cohesion. Yeah.
What an incredibly profound, multi-layered observance we've unpacked today. Eritrea's Martyrs' Day. It truly weaves together deep personal loss with powerful national solidarity, illuminating the immense price of freedom and the enduring values forged through unimaginable sacrifice. It's just a powerful testament to how a nation can build its identity, its future, on the bedrock of its toughest times.
Turning tragedy into enduring strength. And this deep dive, it really raises an important question, I think, for all of us, wherever we are. How does any society choose what to remember? And how do those choices, the stories it tells itself, shake its character, its path forward?
That's a big question.
It is. The Eritrean experience offers this a powerful example of deeply integrated, continuous, highly personal national remembrance. It really makes you consider the ways a nation's history, especially its moments of great sacrifice, continues to inform its identity, its aspirations.
Transforming the past into a living guide.
For the present and the future, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Eritrea's Martyrs' Day. We really hope this exploration has given you, our listeners, a richer, more nuanced understanding of just how powerful collective memory can be.
And the enduring legacy of sacrifice in shaping national identity, really, all across the world.
Exactly. Until next time, keep diving deep.